He ruled an empire, falling apart, plagues, wars, betrayals. And he wrote one line that changed everything. Stop arguing with reality. Around 170 AD, Marcus Aurelius sat in a military camp on the edge of the Roman Empire. Everything was going wrong. A plague had killed millions. His armies were struggling against barbarian invasions. His own son was becoming a monster. His wife had just died. He had every reason to rage against fate, to demand that things be different, to fight reality with everything he had. But instead, he wrote in his journal, "Accept what happens to you. Welcome it. Because the universe put it in your path for a reason. Not because he was weak. Because he understood something most people never learn. That fighting what you can't change is the fastest way to destroy yourself." Here's the problem with how most people deal with life. When something bad happens, they fight it. They resist it. They spend all their energy wishing it wasn't happening, demanding that reality be different, getting angry that things aren't going their way, and all that resistance creates massive suffering, not from the situation itself, from the resistance to it. Marcus saw this pattern everywhere. People making themselves miserable by refusing to accept what already happened, fighting against unchangeable circumstances, wasting energy arguing with reality, and losing every single time. Because you can't win an argument with reality, reality doesn't care about your complaints, it just is. Think about it. Something goes wrong. You lose your job. A relationship ends. You get sick. The situation is already real. It already happened. But instead of accepting it and dealing with it, you resist it. This shouldn't have happened. This isn't fair. Why me? I don't deserve this. And that resistance doubles the suffering. Now you re-dealing with the actual problem plus the mental torture of fighting what you can't change. Marcus called this suffering on top of suffering. The event causes pain. That's unavoidable. But your resistance to the event causes even more pain. And that's optional. You're doing that to yourself. The event happened, you can't change that. But you can change whether you add layers of suffering by refusing to accept it. He wrote this in his journal. You always own the option of having no opinion. There is never any need to get worked up or to trouble your soul about things you can't control. These things are not asking to be judged by you. Leave them alone. What's he saying? Stop adding your opinion to every situation. Stop judging whether things should or shouldn't be happening. They are happening. That's the only fact that matters. Your opinion about whether they should be doesn't change anything. It just makes you suffer more. In ancient Rome, Marcus dealt with constant chaos. He couldn't control the plague, couldn't control the invasions, couldn't control betrayals from people he trusted. But he could control his response. He could choose to accept what was happening instead of wasting energy resisting it. And that acceptance gave him power. Not power over the situation, power over himself. He had this practice. Every morning, he'd remind himself that today he'd encounter difficult people, unfair situations, unexpected problems. Not to be pessimistic, but to prepare himself mentally. To accept in advance that life brings challenges. So when they arrived, he wasn't shocked, wasn't offended, wasn't demanding that reality be different. He was ready. He accepted it, and moved on to dealing with it. Most people do the opposite. They expect life to be easy, expect fairness, expect things to go their way. And when reality doesn't match their expectations, they suffer. Not from reality, from the gap between their expectations and reality. That gap is where all the suffering lives. Marcus would say, change your expectations. Expect that life will be difficult sometimes. Expect that things won't always go your way. Expect that people will disappoint you. Expect that plans will fail. Not to be negative, but to be realistic. So when these things happen, you're not surprised, you're not resistant. You just accept it and deal with it. He used this metaphor. You're like a rock standing in the waves. The waves keep coming. You can't stop them. But if you're solid in your acceptance, the waves crash against you and break apart. They don't move you, they don't damage you. You just stand there, accepting each wave as it comes. Not fighting, not resisting, just accepting. But here's what acceptance doesn't mean. It doesn't mean giving up. It doesn't mean becoming passive. It doesn't mean not trying to improve your situation. Acceptance means acknowledging what's real right now. Not pretending things are different than they are. Not wasting energy resisting unchangeable facts. Just seeing clearly what is. Once you accept what is, then you can act. You can make changes. You can solve problems. But you're acting from clarity, not from resistance. You're dealing with reality as it actually is, not as you wish it was. And that makes you way more effective. Marcus faced a plague that killed millions. He couldn't stop it. He accepted that, but he didn't give up. He organized relief efforts. He managed resources. He made decisions to minimize damage. He acted, but his actions came from acceptance of the situation, not resistance to it. And that made his decisions clearer and more effective. Here's another key insight. Marcus wrote, "Today I escaped anxiety. No, actually I discarded it. Because it was within me, in my own perceptions, not in outside things." What's he saying? Anxiety isn't caused by external situations. It's caused by how you perceive those situations. And perception is something you control. You can't control that bad things happen. But you can control whether you add anxiety on top of those things by catastrophizing, by imagining worst-case scenarios, by refusing to accept what's real. The anxiety is extra. It's optional. It's something you're adding through lack of acceptance. So the practice is this. When something happens that you don't like, pause. Notice your resistance. Notice the voice in your head saying, "This shouldn't be happening." And ask yourself, is this resistance helping? Is it changing the situation? No, it's just making you suffer more. So drop it. Accept what's real. And then figure out what you can actually do about it. Now, let's make this practical. Because you're probably resisting reality right now in multiple areas of your life, and it's exhausting you. Think about your current biggest problem. Maybe it's financial. Maybe it's relationship-based. Maybe it's health-related. Whatever it is, you're probably spending energy wishing it wasn't real. Complaining about it. Asking why it happened to you. That's resistance. That's fighting reality, and it's not helping. Try this instead. Say out loud, "This is my reality right now. I accept it. Not because I like it, not because it's fair, but because it's real." And resisting what's real is pointless. Just that statement creates space. Space where you can actually think clearly about solutions instead of drowning in resistance, or think about the past. How much energy are you spending wishing things had gone differently? Replaying scenarios where you made different choices. Angry at yourself or others for what happened. That's resisting the past. And the past is the most unchangeable thing there is. You absolutely cannot change it. So accepting it isn't optional if you want peace. It's necessary. Marcus would say, the past happened exactly as it was supposed to happen. Not because of fate, but because that's what happened. The causes and effects that led to that outcome were set in motion long before. You can learn from it, but you can't change it. So accept it completely, and focus your energy on what you can actually influence, which is only right now, this present moment. Or think about other people. How much suffering comes from wanting people to be different than they are? Your partner should be more affectionate. Your boss should be more understanding. Your parents should be more supportive. Should. That's resistance to reality. Those people are who they are. Right now, you can influence them, maybe. But you can't control them. So, accept who they are. Then decide what you're going to do about it. Maybe you set boundaries. Maybe you communicate differently. Maybe you accept that this relationship has limits. But all of that comes from acceptance first. From seeing clearly what is, not what you wish was. That clarity gives you power. Power to make real decisions based on reality, not fantasy. Marcus also taught something about amor fati, love of fate. He said, don't just accept what happens, love it, welcome it, because even the bad things are part of your story. Even the struggles shape who you become. You can resist and suffer, or you can accept and grow. Those are your only options. This sounds extreme. Love the bad things. But what he means is this. Everything that happens to you is neutral. Your judgment makes it good or bad. So, if you're going to judge it anyway, why not judge it as an opportunity? As something that will make you stronger, wiser, or more resilient. That judgment serves you way better than the judgment that you're a victim of cruel fate. Here's the ultimate truth Marcus understood. You will suffer in life. That's guaranteed. Loss, pain, disappointment, failure. All of it will happen. You can't avoid it, but you can choose whether you suffer once from the event or twice from the event, plus your resistance to it. That choice is always yours. Most people suffer twice. They experience the painful event and then they torture themselves by refusing to accept it, by demanding that reality be different, by fighting what already happened. And they stay stuck in suffering for years sometimes, all because they won't accept what is. But if you practice acceptance like Marcus did, you suffer once. You feel the pain of the event. You acknowledge it, you accept it. And then you move on to dealing with it. The suffering doesn't compound. It doesn't multiply. It just is what it is. And then it passes. This is ancient wisdom for modern chaos, because modern life gives you 1,000 things to resist every day. Traffic, politics, technology problems, other people's opinions, unexpected changes. You can resist all of it and make yourself miserable. Or you can practice what Marcus practiced 2,000 years ago. Accept what you can't change. Stop arguing with reality. Drop your demands that things be different than they are. Save your energy for what you can actually influence. And find peace in the space between what happens and your response to it. Marcus ruled during one of the most chaotic periods in Roman history, and he stayed centered through all of it. Not because nothing bad happened to him, but because he accepted everything that did. He didn't waste energy fighting unchangeable circumstances. He used that energy to deal with what he could actually change. That's the lesson. That's the practice. That's how you stay sane when everything feels like it's falling apart. Accept what you can't change. And watch how much lighter you feel when you stop carrying the weight of resistance. Watch the next one for more Stoic clarity.